Welcome back to my channel, guys. This is going to be a special presentation that I'm very proud to present for a lot of reasons. This is, again, the premiere of our website called Draftsignal.Pro that focuses on as many players in the draft as possible with as much reach or depth as we can possibly try to provide people, including film. And I'm happy to welcome Jason and Jake here, Jake Howlett, who's done a huge amount of help with the site on the background end, and then Jason giving us just so many evaluations. So first, Jason, thank you, very much for joining in. What were you surprised or struck by when I reached out to you the first time um,
Not
to help eval a website that at that time was unknown or not even existing?
I always look forward to hearing from you, but I get so lone wolf on this draft stuff that I'm always, I'm always looking for people to collaborate with. So I respect your work so much. So doing these draft evaluations has been fun, and now that most of my work is done, I can go back and do more write ups for this website. I think it's a great service. I think people will get a lot of use out of it from having analysis from not just one person but multiple people. And you're going to find that a lot of the same things that you read about the prospects, everybody will have. But to me, the fun part is where you do it long enough. There's certain stuff that is in the eye of the beholder. One evaluator might see it like this, one evaluator might see it like that. It could go either way. So I think that's the beauty of what you're building here. And obviously, it looks so pro. It's just a great job.
Yeah, we have to give credit Jen in our Ravens Discord. She's just amazing. I don't know about you, Jake, but I feel blessed to be able to work with someone like that who's got such a high talent level for what she did, which was, essentially build the site for us based upon our suggestions, and while we didn't guide her, she guided us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this product has turned out amazing. It's so clean, so cool, and she made it so easy for us. Just pulling up the spreadsheet, plugging things in, and it automatically populates on the website. So it's been awesome. She's been such a great help for everything involved here. So shout out to
it
Jen.
literally wouldn't have got done without her being the driving force. So tremendous, thank you to her. And I've, continued to do that every day to the point where finally she said, just stop saying thank you. Jason, what's your favorite, just the draft, not the website or what we've asked you to do here. What's your favorite part of the draft process typically, not just one year, but generally overall?
Yeah, year after year, especially since I started building the board out to where I had enough resources to study pretty much anybody I wanted. My favorite part is starts about right now. So I've gotten all my base evaluations done. I've watched 3 to 4 games on everybody I wanted, sometimes more than that. And you can see right there, that's a snippet of the top players by position. And now what I can do, Coach and Jake, is I can go back and really pick between some of these players, scoot them up, scoot them down. And of course, this is just my rankings by position. I will be releasing the big board with all the players mixed together soon. And from now until, I usually cut it off a few days before the draft. My favorite part is just adjusting. It's just adjusting. So, I look at the board and something might not look right. And I may scoot a cornerback ahead of a certain tight end, or I might, scoot safety ahead of a certain wide receiver. Just thinking about how they apply and how they differ from each other and which one is more valuable to my team, which is the Baltimore Ravens. So very Ravens centric here, mixing obviously just the talent level of the player, which is most important, the old BPA. But you're going to have players with very similar grades, and that's where the need comes in. The depth of the class, for example, like you can see how many wide receivers and edge rushers there are in this class that are worthy players that are going to be starters in this league. So it might be last call at a certain position, if you guys know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Do we want to make last call at this linebacker position, which isn't as deep, and save our edge for the next round? And that's what I enjoy, is just really balancing all the factors of these players, from their measurables to their instincts to anything you can name, and their team fit, which players are leaving on the Ravens next year. We have players in contract years. You're obviously building for the future. You're plugging holes now. So, sometimes the work in evaluating all these guys can get tedious and you get tired of it. But once all the work's done and I know all these guys and I can start messing with the board, scooting them up 10 spots here, or scooting this guy down a few spots, that's what I really have fun with, just the cherry picking part of the draft.
Can you, I think I know, but I just want to make sure everyone's clear. Can you explain the color coded system? It seems quite obvious to me, but just give it a little bit of explanation if you don't mind.
No, I appreciate that. So when the link is out and you'll be able to click on the big board and the positional values, there will be a color coded key on the side. So it'll explain itself. But the guys in the dark green are true first round grades. And the way I was taught way back in the day is they would be first round picks in any draft. And if you took the last 2 or 3 drafts, matched all those players together, they would still comfortably go into the first round. Last year, there were only 2 of them, was Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. This year, I have 6 of them. Those are the guys in the dark green. In the light green, those are guys that I'm predicting will go in the first round in 2026. So I believe I have about 20 of those guys. I just dropped Caleb Banks out of that because of the injury, the broken foot he suffered at the combine. So I'm not sure he will go in the first round anymore.
Looks like 20, yeah.
Those are the guys in the light green, or guys that I'm going to predict they'll safely go in the first round. The next color is the bright yellow. That's an important color to me. Those are guys that have true second round grades. So this is really where it starts getting good. These are guys that I expect to be plus starters, solid starters in the league with the potential to be one of the better players at their position. But these are guys that you're going to be able to count on to start in your team for the majority of their rookie contract. Last year, I had 51 of those guys. This year, 49. So about the same number.
Those are the guys that for this draft, for where we are, 14 and 45, a number of them are probably going to get selected between those 2 picks. And that's why, we're veering off task a little bit here, but that's probably why so many people are enamored or, infatuated with possible trade back options to get as many of those players as possible. I can't blame someone for having that perspective, and I can't blame someone for saying, hey, we should just pick at 14 and 45 and be happy with it.
Absolutely. If you trade it back from 45, you're going to be able to get 2 guys in the yellow. It depends how much you value, my chart and how I characterize them or not. But that level of player where you're going to get somebody that projects as a solid starter. The purple, those are guys that I believe will go on by day two of the draft. So second and third round. And then when it goes into the orange, that's the other big part. The guys with the orange, those are guys who are day 2 picks or values on day 3. And that is the true cutoff to me. Orange is the last color of the guys that I would say, these are the guys that you want to target in your draft. The rest fill out, they're draftable. But the guys in the orange and above are the guys that you're really going to target. Last year, I had 113 of those guys, orange or above. This year, 124. So I think that's the real value in this draft, is there are more players that I'm targeting, about 11 more than last year. And those are where you guys, they could be starters depending on what position they're playing, heavy rotational players. But really, when you're looking at this draft, when I look at the draft, it's the orange and above that I want to come out with as many players from that area as possible. The blue and pink is just basically the blue and pink are players that are draftable. But I kind of separate them into 2 tiers, the blue being the higher tier, just to give kind of like a breaking point of that.
I knew there was a reason why I had contacted you as soon as I did, because I know the level of work that you put into the draft, and B, the ability to discern or even attempt to discern the players that I think what I heard you saying was guys who could possibly give some type of immediate impact. There's a cutoff, and it sounds like it's after the orange, even though, Nick Singleton or Royer, the tight end, those guys are in that orange gradient for you. Depending on where they go, right, what team they go to, what organization, they may or may not actually have impact in the first year. But it sounds like to me what you're saying is those are guys who theoretically could provide some impact for you, first, second year versus longer term development path for everyone who's below. Am I hearing that correct?
Exactly. And I'll take it a step further. The guys in the yellow, I think, are guys that you would expect to play a big part right away. This year, 2026, whether it's a part of your rotation or as a starter, you get the guys with that true second round grades. Those are your starters. When it gets to the orange, I'm looking more at over their 4 years, coach, they're going to be part of this team. They're going to play in some packages, and we're going to rely on them. After that, it's kind of more, that blue and the pink area. It's like, hey, these are guys that, hopefully they can work themselves into the rotation. But really, these are guys that were taken because nobody else is left. Or maybe we like their upside, or maybe they're developmental, or they have a serious flaw in their games that'll prevent them from playing in certain packages.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you letting me share this board, before you release it.
Thank you, man.
Because, when I asked initially, I was like, do you want to share it on here? And I wasn't sure what your response would be. And so you messaged me back pretty quick and said, absolutely, I appreciate it. So like everything is likewise, man, from your end from my end to your end, as far as appreciating, what you offer. And that's why I'm glad that I asked you to take part in this. So I think 12 people have, I don't know, maybe it's even more. I think 12 different people have played a role here. And the only thing I could do to compensate them at all was just say, hey, we're going to link to your social media. And because there's no, revenue generation here for me or anyone else at all.
No, I appreciate it, man. And, I have a lot of fun talking about the draft. I have live shows Wednesday night. Be putting out a lot of draft content soon, but this is obviously a big deal to me. So to be partnering with you guys is something special to me. And, I have never partnered with anybody before. So it goes to show you how much I respect your work. And I think it's a really good thing. Side note, just looking at this board, where the team need comes into fit is fascinating when this edge group. Guys, I'm sorry to take us off track for a second, but I'm looking at it from a Ravens perspective, and I'm looking at, hey, Trey Hendrickson, Mike Green, these are pure rush side ends. Not to say that Mike Green can't play the strong side, but when I'm looking at the difference in player, like a Zion Young compared to like an R. Mason Thomas, or compared to a Cassius Howe, Mason Thomas, Cassius Howe, those are rush side ends. The Ravens have those. We have two of them. Tavius Robinson is in his last year as a contract. So a guy like Zion Young is going to be higher on my Ravens-centric board because we need a butt kicker on the strong side for the future. We got pass rushers, pure pass rushers. We need a butt kicker, a Pernell McPhee, Zadarius Smith type. So, just an aside there. But these are the type of things that I'm thinking about when I'm putting together a Ravens-centric board.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to share I think this is your one of your positional favorites, right?
That's right.
Bud Clark. And do you agree that it's a pretty deep safety class that kind of has whatever you want? If you want a certain thing? Absolutely.
And I think the first round encapsulates that pretty well. I mean, these guys are coming out more and more versatile. A guy like Dylan Thieneman, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and of course, Caleb Downs. You're talking about, do they play nickel? Do they play strong? Do they play free? Those guys can do a little bit of everything, especially impressed with Thieneman and just his athletic ability. But, the league is going more towards 12 personnel with a big tight end lining up in the slot. And, you're matching it up with your Derwin James, your Kyle Hamilton, your Nicky Mawari. So the safety depth is important, and these guys are learning in college. It's not like it used to be able to do different things.
Is that Jake? Can you scroll that down? That's one of the Clark is one of the guys you did an eval. You did a lot of safeties.
I started with safeties and tight ends for you, and then I'm going to fill out the other positions as we come up.
And you said before the show that this helped you, which I'm blown away by, and I'm thankful, because I actually felt a little guilty asking some people like yourself, who I know are busy, Coach Evans, Edgar Allen, who I do some stuff with every week anyway. I actually felt a little guilty asking people because I thought I don't want to add something else to their plate. But what you're saying is this really overlapped, or really, did you say perfectly aligned with what you were doing anyway?
Well, when I make my notes, I have spreadsheets, a go-to spreadsheet that I do every year, and I'm writing those notes for me. So, Coach, Jake, after doing something for so long, you know how it is when you write a note for yourself. You can write 3 or 4 words down, and you know exactly what that means for you. Well, when I'm writing it for the site, I have to make it so everybody understands it, and that's, like I say, like choosing the right adjectives and figuring out what I want to highlight about him first, second, third, fourth. That's where I think really helped me, because I don't want to say, hey, he's good at this. he's good at this. He can do this. I got to get into more detail.
Can you refresh that, Jake? I just changed it to Jason made me aware. He's not 5th year; it was 6th year, right?
He's 6th year. Yeah, I got to get used to that. That one slipped
I just
by.
changed it. If you refresh it, it should update immediately. So the site is Draft Signal for anyone who's interested. It's Draftsignal.Pro. I should be clear about that. And I'm not going to leave this up for very long because it's going to cover up Jason at the bottom of the screen. I don't want to do that. But
Go ahead, buddy.
there's the website right there, and we've decided to release it March 15th, March 16th, whenever you're watching this. And the idea is that we're trying to give you as much information about the draft from a wide range of opinions, perspectives. There's a whole bunch of different people who had input or effort, as far as, trying to put this together. Was there anything about Bud Clark that you liked, specific for the Ravens?
Yes, he's a veteran, and I think he brings versatility. And I especially want someone who can play around the ball, because I believe that Jalen Hawkins and Malachi Starks can both handle deep responsibilities. So, your typical free safety who's not a really good tackler, who can't be physical and play around the ball, those were going to be dropped down on my list, where some teams really need a center fielder. Bud Clark can play center field, but he's also extremely instinctive around the ball. And, there are a lot of players who will get knocked for being older. To me, it doesn't matter. Of course, being young can be an asset to you. Say you're a 21-year-old player and you already have a natural feel for the game, and you're going to get bigger and stronger. And, you can talk, that can be a positive. But for a guy like Bud Clark, and, I expect him to go in like the 3rd or 4th round would be my best guess. I just want somebody that can play ball for 4 years, Coach. And if something happens to one of your 2 starting safeties, somebody you can put into, those coverages immediately, your nickel and dime defense, while Kyle Hamilton is in the slot, and you're not going to give up any big plays because Bud Clark knows what he's doing. He's not a project. So that's what I appreciate about his game, a calming presence and some playmaking ability. I don't think he runs to a 4.41 speed. I think that's a little misleading, but his instincts,
you mean?
In pads, right?
Yeah.
But his instincts allow him to play fast, Coach. So overall, he is a very he's all over it.
These guys ran fast this year at the combine, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
It seemed like only the guys who knew they were going to run fast ran fast, or chose to run, I should say.
At 6'1", he plays to his height. He's got good extension. He's a good athlete, and dexterity, body control, that type of thing, that doesn't show up on the, the old RAS scores or whatever. He is a good athlete. He can bend, contort, make a tackle when he's in the awkward position. I love the way he gets off blocks. I love the way he's able to break down in space and make a form tackle. That's all listed. But he's got a really good understanding of the game. He's flexible. And whatever team he signs with, Coach, whether he's a starter or if one of the players in their safety room goes down, Bud Clark can fill in as a rookie. He's that smart where he could play either role.
High floor in year one. Yeah.
High floor.
Can you go to Thieneman for a second, Jake? I don't know if people are looking at the site as we go over this, but the one nice thing that it does is it kind of generates their 40 time, and some of their scores immediately.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. You mentioned him earlier and about the league going to 12 personnel. What was interesting to me was the scores at the combine. He ran, such a fast 40 time. I think second fastest I think it's Traydon. I'm talking for the safeties. And then his vertical was super high. Like, it was very impressive in the testing that he did do, along with being, very smart and balanced safety with, 6 interceptions as a true freshman. And I think 2 forced fumbles at Purdue, which was, unbelievable production as a true freshman. So guy can do everything well.
What I appreciated about his evaluation, and I think I mentioned it in the write-up, was that you got to see him play 2 different roles, one at Purdue, one at Oregon. And at Purdue, he was asked to patrol the back end, like you said, as a young player, as a freshman. And you could really see his range. Like 4.35 is a shocking number for a safety. But His
Yeah.
play speed is really fast. You
We have
knew
2
he had-
evals done on him, right, Jake?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, Coach DC has one. But yeah, at Purdue, you could see him be more of a ball hawk. And at Oregon, you could see him be that versatile piece where he can play in the slot if you want him to, match up some tight ends, blow up some bunch formations. And so, yeah, I went back and studied 2 games in 2024, as you can see there on the screen, versus Illinois and Iowa. But yeah, I love this player. If the Ravens had a need at safety,
Yeah.
I would be all over him. As a
Never say
starting-
never.
Yeah.
Did either of you guys notice? I didn't know what to call it for Thieneman. I know we're veering a little bit away from the questions that I had prepared you with, but at Oregon this year they played him in this. They had a 2 high safety structure, 2 outside corners, and then he was kind of dropped down on the midline in the middle of the field at like 7.5 yards. Now, what I was told to call that was a 4-2 Mike, and the idea being, it's not a 4-2 nickel that's dedicated to one side, usually the field, like Hamilton or whatever, because you're trying to get your best athlete to be able to react to plays to the right or to the left. You're not dedicating him to one side. Did either one of you guys see that, number one, in the film of him? And then did either one of you guys have a different name? Because what the heck do you call it? It's a 2 high safety structure. The inside linebackers are like widened up, and Thieneman is like sat down between them, but he's not at inside linebacker depth. He's clearly, deeper than the second level of, I don't know what else to call it. 4-2 Mike is, the only thing I know.
I think a good way to put it is just he's a Swiss Army knife. He can do everything on the field, whether it's drop deep into coverage or play up at the line of scrimmage, cover tight end. So I think he's going to find a role on a defense and be an instant producer, whether it's making tackles at the line of scrimmage, covering guys deep, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and to answer your question, Coach, I don't have a specific name for that. That's new to me. I just thought that it was
Caught you
almost
guys
like,
off guard there. My bad.
no, it's okay. I don't have it. I saw it, but I don't have a particular name for it. That's where I just throw it into the Joker category, Coach. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. How would I describe that position? He's playing Joker in that particular personnel grouping.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe depending on how the other team aligns, he may be lined up somewhere else.
Yeah.
He's just the Joker, the wild card in that formation. But yeah, it was interesting. I felt like he was miscast a little bit at Oregon, but it also gave you the chance, like as an evaluator, you loved it because you got a chance to see him do different things. So
one thing I like about what you kept sending, your other positional favorite was at tight end. It was Jolie or Jolly, right?
yeah, Jolie.
One thing I do like about what you kept sending is that I don't know where I have Jolly or Jolie on the big board, to be honest with you. The rounds applied there probably need some movement. But you put the game in that you watch, which should be standard, really. And in fact, I don't necessarily do it. But number one. And number two, in some of the evaluations you sent, you actually refer to a handful of the plays. You didn't do it with Thieneman. I should have found an example to illustrate it. But you would say, witness his second quarter forced fumble in 2024 against, North Carolina or, whatever. I just found that to be another layer or level that I haven't encountered. And like I said, got 11 or 12 different people who've been sending us evaluations of players. So credit to you for A, including that, and B, being able to reference it in the evaluation or, in this type of interview discussion here.
Well, thank you. I think that it's important for me. I've always done the game studied because I don't want to go back and watch the same tape. And when you do this many people, sometimes you forget. Shoot, did I watch the Memphis game yet? I don't want to watch the same tape. I want to get as much as I can, whether it be a TV copy even or the all 22. I just want to see reps. But yeah, when I reference a certain play, guys, it's because it kind of encapsulates something that you see over and over again with the player. This is the best example of this. Yes.
What did you like about Jolie or Jolly?
Well, I like his fit as an F tight end, a move tight end. I was kind of resigned to the fact that, the Ravens were losing Isaiah Likely, and I'm not sure if they're going to be, deploying two tight ends a lot. I mean, Declan Doyle last year had Cole Kmet, he had Colston Loveland, and he had Durham Smythe. So we have obviously Mark Andrews and Durham Smythe. So who's the the Colston Loveland? Who is the Isaiah Likely? And to me, Jolie stood out right away. Like when I watched him, I think he was like tight end 7 or 8 that I had watched, and I'm like, where is this guy? Why wasn't he higher on my initial list that I was pulling from? Because he moves, just like Isaiah Likely in his routes and with the ball, and he can move block. He's not going to be your Y inline tight end. Contested catches. He's great off schedule, which I think is more and more important and needs to be a bigger part of the evaluation across the league, not just for Ravens fans, but these quarterbacks can buy time, all of them, and extend plays, all of them, even if they're not fast, they can buy time. They're
right. So, Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl, right? Perfect example. Yeah.
Right. So Jolie, he has got that innate feel for space, Coach and Jake, to where he can find himself in between and just give the quarterback a friendly target. Just give a quarterback an easy throwing lane off schedule.
Did you give me a player comp? Can you scroll up, Jake? Is Isaiah? Should we put Isaiah Likely in there as a player comp?
Yeah, I put his name in the moves like Isaiah Likely, so it just sticks out to me. That he is your flex move blocking tight end all day long. Excellent off schedule. He can dig you out of tough situations. If nobody's open, you can throw it to him and trust him to go up and get the ball, or to at least make sure that somebody else doesn't like him. So this is an F tight end ball tracker. I think he would fit in well with any offense, and I especially like him, of course, my Raven-centric board to give us to give Lamar Jackson specifically, hey, this is my Isaiah Likely, and you can break him in slow, but he has a natural feel for the game aside from his physical gifts that he brings. He has a natural feel for the game, off schedule, space, settling in zones, and he can go up and get it.
Jake, he's almost 22. Any idea when he came out? Did you know anything about him?
I actually, he was on my list of tight ends that I had done an eval on back when I was with Maryland. Let me take a look at that real quick just to see. I think I
think 21.7 is. Thank you for putting those in there in that format too, because that is super helpful for me, because it lets me know that they're going to turn 22 soon, and you get the outliers. You see like Royer from Cincinnati is already 24. And so you get an idea of the guys that are, like Jason said earlier, going to be 23 soon, or in some cases 22 soon in the case of Jolie, and the guys who are already 24 like him, or Mesidor, the defensive end outside linebacker from Miami.
I think Jolie was from like the Northeast somewhere. He was a lesser known prospect out of high school. I
thought I saw he was a 3-star.
Yeah, 247 has him listed as a wide receiver 2-star, and went to UConn. Yeah, from New York. So
it's time to get
cool
bigger.
To see his rise.
Put on some weight. That's what happens. If you can't quite cut it as a wide receiver, put on some weight, son. Learn how to block and go up and get the ball, and pray that you're 6'4", because it's just amazing how cookie cutter all these guys are now.
Yeah.
It's like if you're between 6'3" and 6'5" and 230 and 250 pounds, you're either playing edge rusher or tight end, depending if you're offensive or defensive player. Like all of them are that size and weight.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's calling him a flex tight end that's how I remember, that's how they sold it to Bryson and some other guys, probably, Eli Stowers too. Whatever the language is, it's basically a glorified tight end. Because let's be honest, a lot of these guys, maybe Sadiq is different and others, but Stowers would fit into this. They're not being asked to block in a typical fashion. They're arc releasing to go get a safety, and then they're reading the defensive end. So it's very different in some ways than what people think. You still do have your Smythe who can do, he can line up at fullback. He lined, and he did that in Chicago's. That's a Ben Johnson thing for real. I mean, he didn't have a fullback in Detroit. He used tight ends there. In fact, Sam Laporta was a guy who he asked to line up at fullback a lot. And so, it's a different world for the Ravens as far as tight ends. They're going to have tight ends, like you said, like a Jolie or whoever. Somebody's going to be asked to line up at fullback. At times, it'll be Smythe.
So, Jason, I have a quick question. So, in terms of like the overall prospect pool, we live in an interesting world now, the past 5-6 years, we've seen a bunch of guys go back to school because of NIL or they had the extra COVID years. Has there been anything different about the depth of this draft that you've noticed this year?
I think it showed up last year more.
Yeah.
Last year, I mean, I'd studied more prospects than ever. It wasn't close. And that's why you got guys like Jay Higgins as undrafted free agents and some more quality undrafted free agents last year. This year it's still heavy. But yes, I have noticed, I think that, with COVID especially, there was a thinning out process. People waited, and 2021, 2022, they were good drafts. I think 2022 was a good draft, but 2021 it was like there's no football to watch. Guys just wanted to put out more tape before they came out in 2022, and then you have this overload of guys transferring, staying in school, which to me, it like we mentioned this with Thieneman. You can go back and watch him in different systems and say, okay, well, look how quickly he picked up that system. Look at what he did in that system. Look at what he did in this system. And then all the players are really funneled to the power four. So the days of the Ladarius Webbs and the Matt Judons are kind of going out the window, and these guys are all funneled up making money. So it kind of makes it easier to evaluate. As much as I want to complain about NIL, to me, it's like, all right, well, they're all in one spot, and I can see them at different schools doing different things. So yeah, I kind of think it's made my job easier.
Yeah, that is one positive about the transfer portal. Now you can see a guy do different things in different systems, which is a good note by you there.
Yeah, Chris Johnson, the corner from San Diego State, he's the guy that stayed, right, and supposedly got all the offers, like Zay Flowers, right, that chose to eschew the Power Four, I guess, schools and chose to stay where he was. But most of the time, of course, those guys they're gonna take it, right?
Right, yeah. And you got Carson Vincent. Carson Vincent was very, very loyal to the HBCU that took him in. You got Skylar Bell in this draft, a UConn wide receiver who just wanted to stay and be super productive there to show what he could do on tape instead of getting buried at, say, I don't know where he got offered to, but like he goes to Ohio State. He's not gonna have the same role as he did at UConn. So, I mean, there are exceptions, but man, you used to have to really, look at Kyle Duggar from a couple of years ago. My high school's tape was clearer than Kyle Duggar's tape. It's just like some dude in the back with a iPhone, whatever, trying to film it. So yeah, I appreciate NIL from that standpoint, is it just kind of funnels the talent together.
Who's your so let's do it this way. Who's your, I don't want to say favorite player in the whole draft, because I might get a different answer there, but at 14, assuming the Ravens stay there and there's no trade back option, who's your pick? With what now, could change, I guess in the next 6 weeks, but who would you advocate for and why?
Absolutely. I don't know if you had access to it, but if you wanted to put up my positional rankings, it might help be a good talking point. But those guys in the dark green, the Jeremiah Love, Carnell Tate, Ruben Bain, Arvell Reese, David Bailey, Sonny Styles, I don't think any of those those guys are getting to 14. So obviously, I'm just going to eliminate those guys from consideration. When I look at the others in the green, Maui Goa, I think, is going to be gone way before us. There's one guy that I just keep coming back to, and I think more Ravens fans are warming up to him than originally thought, and that's Vega Uwane, the big old guard from Penn State. He's just so fun to watch. I think that the concern with him about not being able to block consistently in the outside zone, I think that's a little overblown. I think I've seen him reach block. He can do it. It's not his specialty, but he can fit. He's not going to ruin your stretch zone run game. It's more about what he can do. I haven't seen a more polished pass blocker, especially considering his age and his physical ability than Uwane. Look how tight his elbows are. You see how easy his feet are. He makes everything look easy. And then, in the power blocking, the climbing to level 2, you saw them line them up on the wing guys, in some slot, in some motion, reach linebackers, reach safeties. Like that's rare for a 300 and whatever pound guy. That is rare. So this guy has good dexterity in his movements. He's nasty. You can just see tapes of, him laying bodies all over the turf. So I love him. The idea of picking a guard at 14 isn't the greatest. Obviously you would rather get a more impactful position, but the O-line is impactful. The O-line is important, and I don't see any kind of star edge rusher falling to us in this situation. So, yeah, Victor Owani is someone that I was drawn to early in the process, and the more I watched him, the more I liked him.
So, Jason, I think this draft fits well for Ravens are looking for, we need to add young depth, young controllable, cheap depth. And I feel like this draft has a lot of that at positions that we need depth at, whether it's a backup wide receiver, tight end, another tight end, offensive line depth, defensive line depth. I don't know if you have any specific guys that you like in those, round 2 to round 5 range, but do you agree that this is a good depth draft?
It is, especially at the tight end position. I think, the Ravens are in a great position, Jake, because you can look like I have Joe Royer at tight end 6. I have Joe Lee at tight end 4. If Royer and Joe Lee are tight end 8 or 9 on your board, whoever's listening, we could have a discussion about it in a debate, but it wouldn't be very long because I see your side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy likes Cuevas. Cuevas is a good player. Jack Indries is a good player. They can very easily be the 4th tight end off the board, 5th tight off the board. Lake McCree stretches the seam like probably nobody else in this draft at tight end. Love him. Where do you put him? Like there is an overflow at that position. I also love the edge rusher position, and there are different styles, different flavors of edge rushers. Everybody's going to get a guy that they like. So yeah, those 2 positions fascinate me. I mean, I think that there's plenty of depth there, and it matches up good for a lot of teams, but especially for the Ravens when you're looking at, hey, we need a tight end, but we can't really spend a premium pick on it. Well, you're going to be able to get that. We need
your
a
color
safety.
system. Look at your color system for edge. I mean, how far down, it extends is illustrative of what you think, number one. But I think it lines up. It really reminds me somewhat, excuse me, of the defensive tackle group in last year's draft, where it's kind of like, okay, you can grab something that you like at the defensive tackle position, depending on where you are. I have no doubt they're going to go edge defender at some point in those first 3 picks, in my opinion. But I know there's other needs as well. I think it is super helpful that they brought back Awuzie and they signed Jalen Hawkins, who is a spectacular player to watch. He's a lot of fun. Maybe he's not a man defender, I wouldn't say, but tackles well. And so they did themselves some really big favors, I think, in bringing those 2 guys in and maybe opening up a little bit more freedom at 14, 45, and 80, if they stay there, that is.
And that's their job, coach. Their job is to go into a draft with as few holes as possible so they don't have to reach. When you got a big need that's going to crush your team, if you don't address it, you don't address it in free agency, then you've got to reach in the draft. And what you're going to do is you're going to pass on a better player to fill a hole. So, yeah, I think, Hawkins was a great signing because you don't want to reach on a safety. You can see where it's thick, in my opinion, is that rounds 3 and 4 and that orange. And I mean, even some of the guys in the blue, I kind of like them too for late in the draft. You got Hawkins, you got Starks. Starks, by the way, will be freed up now. I think he's more of your strong safety, with Hawkins being more of the free safety, if you want to just go basic terms on that. Because Starks' versatility with his tackling and his man coverage was really good last year. So yes, that's their job, coach, is to address that before the draft.
That's their job overall, and so I like I'm hearing that, to be honest with you. So do you want to pull up the Ione page, Jake? I'll remove that. Sorry. And then get you back there. Obviously, we're trying to show off the site, guys. We're trying to show off the functionality, the navigation of it, as well as highlight and reveal Jason's work and everyone's work who's contributed evaluations or any type of work towards this effort. I've held Jason a little bit longer than maybe I wanted to, but A, it's because it's fun. And B, I feel fortunate to have so many people who said, yes, I'll help, even if it was to a small extent. So it really, my experience with the Ravens film guys, content creators board has been spectacular all the time, dating back years. And I know from other fan bases that does not exist necessarily, in that other fan bases have and other people have told me, hey, these guys don't talk to each other. That is not the case with the Ravens groups from my experience. And so I just feel really thankful that people like you, Coach Evans, Edgar Allen, so many guys have been willing to help here and try to get something off the ground that, I don't know, Jake, what was it? Was it 5 weeks ago? 6 weeks ago?
It was just
We didn't even know it was going to be a go.
Yeah. The very blank Excel spreadsheet. It's turned out to be something awesome.
I'm really impressed with the design of this year. And, just, I don't know if I said it before, but within the next 2 days, I'll have a big board release on my channel, Huddle It Up Films, and with the link to my spreadsheet as well. So you can
share it. You share it on Twitter for anyone to consume, which is amazing.
Share it for Twitter, and then I'll give it to Coach so he can put the link on this board, and you'll basically have everything within a click or two. Some of these sites, guys, I think what's helpful here is some of these sites you have to do a lot of navigation to get between player and player. This you can have 2 or 3 evaluations on one player, read the differences, read the similarities, and go and do some studying for yourself.
I think EA submitted this one. Can you scroll down a little bit, Jake? I think EA submitted this one. Oh no, Will Rock did. Sorry, I thought EA submitted one. I guess not. Maybe I didn't post it up there. So we do have 2 for him, and EA's done a lot of work while he's dealing with some other things, positive things in his own life. So it's been super, helpful to have him involved. And all right. So what do you like about Ione? We've got Will's eval up there, and I'll be meeting with him later tonight.
I mean, the first thing that jumps off is just his pass protection, which in a lot of ways is, people say it's most important. Your higher leverage downs are passes. You're coming back in the game and trying to win. They are passes. You want to win games that you're not supposed to win. You have to do that through the air when you fall behind or turn the ball over. And he's just, Coach, we saw last year. I called it the girl, where's my hug at? Pass protection. Hey, Coach, where's my hug at? Yep. Girl, where's my hug at? And that's, we were a lot of reachers. We were huggers. Vega Ioane is a puncher. He is, his elbows are in sight. His hand placement is right. For a guy who's only been playing football for 5 or 6 years, whatever his backstory is, it was, he talked about how it's big in his community that you're really not supposed to, on the Polynesian state, you're really not supposed to leave home until you're married. So this was a big deal, a big sacrifice for him, a big change for him to come to the States and play football. He hasn't been doing it very long. And for him to look as natural at the position as he does, especially in pass protection, just fascinates me. It just fascinates me. You put a big guy across from him, he can anchor him, no problem. You put a smaller, quicker guy.
I'm writing notes off the stuff you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, you put a smaller, quicker guy on him, it's no problem. He's very patient. He just has a really good feel for the position. So, it's great when you have an outside zone scheme and you have a lot of finesse that generally comes with those lines because they have to be able to move laterally. But there comes a point, Coach and Jake, where you get towards the goal line or short yardage where you need to run behind somebody, and he's your guy for that. He is your guy for that. He can handle himself in outside zone. But when you need to combo block or knock somebody out the way and clear space, down block somebody, this man will take your head off. And he like, I've noticed many times where the guys, he'll punish someone who jumps up or reaches up to try to defend a pass.
Block, right.
He's just going to make you pay for it and make you not want to do it again. So he wears on you from that aspect of just being more physical.
Do you guys feel like, picking offensive line at 14 would show not that we need to, but it would show a very clear message to Lamar that this is not the same regime that is going to leave the guard position to chance like we did 2024, after 2023 to 2024, and then after 2024 to 2025. We did have the same approach, essentially, in my opinion. Makari and Falele in 24, and then Voorhees and Falele in 25. Do you feel like drafting a guard at 14 is a clear message to Lamar? Because, his contract is up after, is it 27? 28?
Next year.
After next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that message. I have to be honest with you. Do you guys feel the same way or no?
I think you got to look at it from, how does this make our team better as opposed to will it make Lamar happy? because you select a guy like Vega who's going to make not only Lamar better, but it gives more times for the receivers to get open, creates holes for Derrick Henry and whoever else is going to be in that backfield. So from an overall improvement standpoint, he is one of those guys that makes us better across the board in the run and the pass. So
I think though I agree with Jake 100%. You're trying to pick the best player that you think makes your team better. But coach, the lack of investment in guard is kind of noticeable and it seemed almost on purpose. It's like, look, we got a first round center, we got a first round left tackle, we got a second round right tackle. We have invested in those spots, whether their salary shows it or not. They're still in the rookie rate. We invested in those spots. We can get away with, Metcalfe in there. We can get away with Voorhees. We can get away with Fowler. And what yet last year proved especially was no, you can't. If they're ruining games for you, you had no backup plan. Your backup plan was to bring in Ben Cleveland, who you didn't believe in. You drafted Emory Jones, who I loved. I had no idea he needed shoulder surgery or chest pectoral surgery, whatever it was. Basically you were just riding your whole O-line on two guys who, ultimately didn't get the job done. So yeah, I mean, I agree with Jake that, you're picking the best player for your team, but it would also signal, coach, a change in philosophy that we're not just going to try to get by at guard. We want a good guard.
It reminds me, and I know I said this in a video form and in the Discord multiple times. It reminds me somewhat of what Ben Johnson did in Chicago a year ago. Basically, a year ago plus 3 or 4 days. They traded for Thuney. They traded for, they gave away a 6th round pick to pick up the right guard who had played, Jonah Jackson, who had played for him in Detroit, and then went to the Rams, did nothing. Didn't play consistently, was injured. I think actually played some center for the Rams, partially part of that year. And then they traded a 6th round pick to get him. And then, of course, they signed the free agent who, has since retired. But Chicago Bears easily could have been in the NFC Championship game, very easily, in my opinion. And I think that would have made things easier for the Seahawks probably. But point being, this is very similar dynamic that Doyle was involved in a year ago. And I think I wouldn't argue against Ione at 14 at all. I know that some people would, so I can't argue with you here. Give me 4 picks that you would like to see the Ravens conduct or be able to grab in this draft. It can be, any selection of rounds. It doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, any 4 guys.
Yeah. What I'm thinking here, I've been trying to construct how I would need to match up with where the board is and what would be a good feasible, strategy or what's a not likely outcome because you never know how things are going to go, but what's a reasonable outcome? And for me, it would be, okay, you address the guard spot and Vega Wane right away in round 1. And what that would allow you to do in round 2. Now, round 2, you have a couple of guards that you could take if you miss out on a Wane or want to slice it a different way. But where I see with my board is that overflow of edge players in round 2 with pick 45. You get a Wane in round 1. You get, edge player in round 2, whether that be, my favorite Zion Young or another edge player. Get yourself an edge rusher in round 2. Round 3 is where I would target the center, coach, because right now at this point we have no real clear favorite for a starting center. And in this draft, I see about 5 or 6 starters, but I think you have to go round 3.
It's a good group. You mean the center group in the draft?
Center
it's a good group,
right?
Yeah,
it's a center, and it's a good group, and it's a group I think that could start, if not right week 1, by midseason could be your best option if they want to ease that young man in the game plan.
You got one more, and then I'll ask a follow-up question about the center position.
And then round 4 is where I would target one of those tight ends that we talked about earlier. Maybe Jolie is not there by that time, but if he's not, then McCree would be there in round 4, or Cuevas or Joe Royer or one of those other guys. So, realistic plus a great scenario to me would be Wane, maybe a guy like Zion Young. Maybe round 3 is where you get your Sam Heck or your Logan Jones. And round 4, you take one of those tight ends that are in the purple or orange.
Yeah. So about the centers, and Jake's probably got the same question in his mind because I know that we've talked about this a lot. Do you have the feeling that maybe the Simpson signing is a signal for us that we are or are not going center as opposed to guard with one of those first 3 picks. I guess the idea would be, okay, Simpson is our guy at guard, and so we feel like we can delay selecting a guard until after the first 3 picks and thereby utilize one of those first 3 picks on a center. Does that make any sense at all, the way I formed that question?
It does. And I hope that they don't say, look, we don't want to take Ioane, or we don't want to take Chase Basantes or Emmanuel Pregnon. I hope they would be open to both, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
But yeah, like center, to me, center round 3 center seems like it fits in this draft. I think if you wait to round 4, then you might not, like, the centers that you love might be off the board by then. It's just too late. Right.
I never argue or run down the players that they mention, because to me, it's just ranges and quality of player that fits within that range. To me, is what you did. So whether it's Zion Young, or anyone else, it doesn't matter to me. I think going back to last year, we didn't touch the D tackle when we should have, in my opinion, late round 4, early round 5. And, we got Peebles. We now possibly could have a need at defensive tackle, unfortunately, because of the Madubuike situation. I wish we had revisited that when we should have. But, I know people have different opinion on it. Well,
Yeah.
man.
By the way, I think they're purposely waiting right now with Madubuike.
Yeah.
Till after this draft. Keep you guessing. Why would I want Jake to know what's going on with Madubuike? You might think I'm going to take the defensive tackle. You might want to trade up. Like, I kind of feel like that's happening, and I kind of getting more positive about it as time goes on, honestly.
I also look at, what happened last year with sorry, I was doing a placeholder until I could get this thing up. I also look at what happened last year with guard in terms of Mike Green being available at the end of round 2. It's my belief that the Lions traded up in front of us to pick Tate Radledge because they felt like we were going to take a guard like a Tate Radledge. And so, to your point about Madubuike, we don't want to signal to anyone necessarily what we do or we do not need, at 14, 45, or 80. I didn't intend to keep you for almost an hour. I think we could do this again probably next week and have a lot of fun with it and go for an hour again.
Absolutely. I'm like I said, my favorite time is coming up on, Coach, because no longer am I like, I got to get this done. Let me spend I can freestyle. Be like, what do I feel like, looking at today?
Yeah. Our work is not done, though. Like Jake and I, we're going to be, the site's not finished. We've got offensive linemen that are, let me show it. Like, we've got all these offensive linemen that we're not, even close to being done with, so we're releasing it live and launching it, I guess. So I'm glad you have that feeling that you're, done or almost done, but we don't.
That's beautiful. No, I just say, like, there's a different feel for me when I have 200 and whoever knows how many people to study, to where when I've already got that work done, 3-4 games of each.
How you've done that. No idea.
Yeah, man. That starts way early. I think this year was more challenging because the coaching changes, the coordinator changes. Like, even when Harbaugh was hired, we kept Rex Ryan. So there was some continuity. We knew exactly what defense we were looking for and what roles needed to be filled. This was like, study Declan Doyle, study Sean Payton, look at Ben Johnson, look at Jesse Minter with the Chargers. It was
Max Crosby. Oh, no, Max Crosby.
Max Crosby. Right. That's been that type of offseason. So I just want to say one more last time that I really appreciate what you're doing here. I think it's a great service. I think people are going to love it. And I can't wait to write more evaluations. And I'll keep writing those as I go through and start cherry picking certain positions and spots of the draft that I like.
Well, it's not me. I mean, thank you. But, Jake, Jen, so many people, 2 or 3 other guys in the Ravens Discord, Will Rock from Detroit, Easy from Detroit, Woodward Heavyweights, Dan Viennes from Seattle, a couple of other more widely known people, have indicated, I would love to help you, but I just don't have time, so it's not me. There's half a dozen people who've been in on this, and it's been a lot of fun. The analogy I made Friday with one guy was, I'm not the person driving the train. That's Jen, she's driving the train. I'm just the guy who's saying all aboard and getting as many people on the train as possible to go in this direction. And so it's been super fun for me, and I'm glad to have you on as well as everyone else involved.
Thanks, Coach. Football is family, you know it, and you embody that. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks a lot, man. This will be up, as soon as I can possibly edit some of these together for a full release video with everyone who's involved. It was mentally a challenge to think, am I really going to ask Ravens, Seahawks, and Lions people to help me all at the same time? And I did. I actually even asked a Bengals guy to help, and he said yes too.
Nice.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. If you enjoyed the video, please let us know in the comment section. If you have any issues with the site, and you sat around this long perusing it, first of all, thank you. But second of all, feel free to email me at my email that's attached to the description. Let me know if there's any issues, and we'll certainly jump right onto that. Appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you.